Hey there guys, Conceptual Concept 6.9 here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest, and today I wanted to go over a rifle that is near and dear to my heart, and it is getting back into hotness in terms of the firearms atmosphere. They just released the Gen 3 model, and if you haven't watched yet, Ian McCullen from Forgotten Weapons just did a overview of the Bren 2 MS, the civilian rifle version available here in the US, and the differences between the military. Now, anyone who's watched the channel for a period of time knows I have a Gen 2 Bren 2, Gen 2 Bren 2, but it's one of my favorite rifles. Super cool part that I didn't know until that video with Ian McCullen was that this guy just got adopted in, or at least got a contract through Ukraine to start manufacturing these domestically. So hopefully this will become Ukraine's next rifle. I'm not going to get into the politics of the Russian-Ukrainian war, but with Ukraine trying to get into NATO, which this is all information from that video, I'll go ahead and annotate up here, but with Ukraine trying to get into NATO, adopting a rifle that takes 5.56 ammunition and Stanag mags is pretty practical overall. It's a good idea. So I think they're going to end up adopting this, as well as it's been used pretty heavily in the Ukrainian war, and people seem to speak very highly of it. So without further ado, let's kind of get into the gist of this guy. What makes the Bren 2 a Bren 2, and basically the Scar 16 but better. Fight me FN, you guys void your warranties when you suppress the rifle, and any modern rifle should be suppressed, or at least have the capability thereof. So FN, get your stuff together. Now, the Bren 2 this is the 11-inch model. That's what I'm going to be speaking to. I used to have a Bren 2 MS as well. Didn't really like it because of the weight of it. It had a heavier profile barrel than the Bren 2, the standard, which I'll go ahead and annotate some pictures of the barrel on the Bren 2, the military version, which is what this guy is for the most part. There are a few tweaks, but it's a very pencil-sized barrel, so it's very lightweight on the front end, which I really like. Now, for sustained fire, it might cause a little bit of group deviation. It might heat up a little quicker, but I genuinely do like this just because it keeps the front end weight down, especially if you're running a can like I am on here. It is much handier, much easier to shoot. This guy, I found I'm pretty easily able to shoot to 400 yards, which I know it's kind of deceiving, me being out here in the mountains, but around here without tree cover, it's really hard to find 400 yards, and I'm pretty confident I could shoot even further, because shooting 400 yards with this guy is no problem. So moving back, we do have an adjustable gas system. I did install the HB Industries, and I'll annotate a picture as well here. The HB Industries gas plug, which has a suppressor setting, which the Gen 3 is actually going to have as well. Huge benefit there, but I'm not going to upgrade just because the Gen 3 is heavier and I like the lightweight of the Gen 2. But the HB Industries has been working really well. It's toned down the gas. This gun is incredibly smooth to shoot. It's very easy to keep track of the dot and the ACOG through recoil. It's a 5.56, so I mean, either way, it's not too rough on the recoil, but this guy is incredibly soft. This guy does have a non-reciprocating charging handle that also acts as a forward assist. So when the charging handle is back a little bit, you just press it forward. It will forward assist. It will help you push around in the chamber if you've got this guy super duper grimy. I also did install the HB Industries 10-inch handguard. I'm sorry, like, I know that the military isn't using this. I'm not looking for clone correct. I'm looking for a practical rifle. And having a full-length handguard M-lock is just beneficial in almost every way. So I definitely prefer that. That is my go-to. If you haven't checked out HB Industries, they are making a ton of stuff for the CZ Bren. So the rifle is a short stroke gas piston system. Wait, they were all AR-180s? Always were. You know, insert that meme. So it's a very AR-180 style firearm, which, nice part, it doesn't require a buffer tube, so you can fold. Me and some buddies were doing some vehicle-borne shooting. We were doing a drill where we had to jump out of a car with our rifle stowed and engage the targets from the back wheel hub. So I was able to shave off quite a bit of time here, and there were some better shooters than me who were running AR-15s who had a little more trouble getting their rifle out of the car because it was kind of cramped. It was hard to maneuver out. This is where I think folding stocks really shine, is if you're in a cramped space, or if you are, you know, storing your rifle. It's much easier to do that. I was also able to keep the stock at the length of pull I wanted. So I didn't have to monkey the length of pull as I'm trying to get out of the car, as I'm trying to finagle the rifle out, as I'm trying to get behind the wheel hub and shoot. It shaved, I want to say, a good like 3 to 4 seconds off my time versus everyone else. And so huge benefit to being able to fold your rifle. Now, is that practical for most uses? Probably not. The buffer tube system's just fine. But in terms of tight spaces, folding your stock is really nice. So the Bren 2 also has ambidextrous controls. The charging handle can be swapped from one side to the other. It's got ambidextrous magazine release, so it's got an AR style here, and down below here, it's just a little lower, and it's tucked back and recessed to where I haven't really had any issues with accidentally disengaging my my magazine. Now, I'm right at about the 2,000 round range on this firearm, so got quite a bit of practice, not as much as some people, but more than a lot of others. Now, past that, it does have the ambidextrous bolt release. So it has an AR style right here, which is just standard. And then it's got the bolt release right in here, right in the trigger guard. Not my favorite. I personally still just use the paddle. Now, that being said, if you get used to it and if you're good with it, I think that's perfectly practical. Just as an American, it kind of like the finger out of trigger guard deal is a big deal to most of us, right? So the Bren 2 also has an ambidextrous safety. So I really like the safety. It's about a 45-degree throw, and it's the same length on both sides. Now, I'm right-handed. The reason I like an ambi safety isn't because I shoot offhand a lot. It's actually because when I disengage the safety, I use my thumb, but when I engage it, I use my pointing finger, or my trigger finger. The reason why is it also pulls my finger out of the trigger guard, makes sure I'm extra safe, keeps my finger out. So huge benefit there. So it also comes with sling loops on both sides, QD. I think it's odd because the military version does not have QD up front. Don't know why they chose to do it in the back but not in the front, but you know, whatever. So has ambi there. This is the Gen 2 stock, I believe. This is what they're putting on all their rifles now. It's what's on the Bren 2 MS. That's actually how I got this, is I had the Bren 2 MS and I decided to do a little switcheroo with what I had on this guy. But this guy also does have ambidextrous, or both sides. It's got QD cups. I'll insert some closer photos there. And it actually locks on the brass deflector, which is pretty neat. So that's basically the gist. So let's go into a few other things. So you've got a fixed grip. I actually like this grip. I haven't really seen a need to change it, but you can get alternative back straps that widen it a little bit if you want. And then the other thing I did upgrade for 922R compliance, I did the disc connector in here and the trigger. So I have an HB Industries trigger and disc connector. It is a flat trigger, but it has just slightly less travel than the factory. The factory is still an excellent military trigger. Can't recommend it enough. I just wanted to meet the 922R compliance, so that's why I put it on there. All right, so just a brief overview. I already went over this on my GPR video. It was the second video I ever made, so if you've watched it, I have a more in-depth overview of how I have this rifle set up, but I'll give a brief overview now. So we'll annotate that video right here for you guys, but basic gist is we'll go tip to butt like Flannel Daddy. I have a Dead Air Sandman S. Excellent can overall. Personally, I think there are better options out there now. The Griffin Explorers are fantastic. Those are awesome cans. Also the Griffin Recce's. I really am impressed with Griffin products overall. The gun shop I worked at before we sold hundreds of Griffin cans. Everyone liked them. They're also much lighter and have a little better flash reduction, especially seeming how this is a 30 cal can on a 5.56 gun. Even with the 5.56 end cap, it's a little louder, and I do get a little bit of sparks at the end, which is pretty normal with suppressors. Now, moving back, I do have a Z-Bolt Blazer IR. If you haven't looked into those are fantastic. I have a review and an overview showing the absolute power of this guy. I'll annotate that video as well. So past that, I'm running a Surefire Vampire. I probably should get some 100 Concepts caps for these just to reduce overall signature, and I'll plan to do that in the near future. And moving back, I do have a Blue Force Gear sling. It's QD cups. I like QD cups overall. There's pluses and minuses to them. The QD cups, if you get injured, if someone has to take your rifle off of you, it is much easier to do that. Just QD it, pull it off, no problem. Now, past that, I am running a Trijicon ACOG TA02. Hands down, my favorite 5.56 optic. It's got a ballistic reticle, and so even if you zero this at 100 yards with the 11-inch barrel, it is dang close to the same bullet drop compensation out to like 500 yards. I'll go ahead and annotate. I'll put a picture up here of Straylock Pro's exact specs for this optic on this rifle with green tip, and you'll see it's dang close to the actual ballistic reticle. So good to go there. I am running a Holosun EPS with a 100 Concepts cap on here. I really should get a kill flash for this as well. I'm really impressed with the 100 Concepts EPS kill flash though. It's been really durable. It's holding up really well. I like it. 10 out of 10. But that's the basic gist of how I have this rifle set up. Now let's go ahead and do some shooting with it. We'll check the accuracy, because accuracy is kind of a big deal, but I think in a fighting rifle it's a little overblown. But stay tuned. Right guys, so we're gonna go ahead and do some accuracy testing. We're gonna start with green tip, which is what I have the most of. Then we're gonna try out some 77 grain OTM match and some 55 grain XM 193. So let's start with the green tip. Now let's go ahead and shoot the 77 grain OTMs here. Alright, so last let's go ahead and try out some 55 grain. See how that does.
Let's shoot the bottom right of the bottom target.
So obviously the match ammo performed hands down the best, providing about a 1 MOA to 1.5 MOA group depending on how you're looking at it. I do want to address the green tip ammunition though. The green tip performed absolutely terribly, and I felt pretty good about the second group that's on the bottom right hand corner. But again, that's like a 6+ MOA group, which is really odd. I'm just going to go ahead and insert the zeroing group I had, which was a 3-shot group. Again, 3-shot groups are not indicative of actual accuracy, but I would like to revisit the green tip again because this feels like it's way off. So let's get into the good of the rifle, and then we'll get into the bad. So the good of the rifle is it's incredibly modular, it's foldable, it's more than combat accurate. Again, U.S. military's requirement for an M4 is 4 MOA. This guy is easily past this. I really like it. I hate to say it, I wish that this was America's rifle and not the AR-15, because I'm kind of a lazy bastard. I don't like to clean my guns, and the AR-15 handles neglect a lot worse than this rifle does. This rifle has been overall very reliable. I have cleaned it once, and that was when I got it. I'm nearing 2,000 rounds, and you might see a malfunction here and there. I'll try and post some video of malfunctions, but I'm starting to get a few. I'm at 2,000 rounds. I've been shooting it suppressed only. I have not shot a single round out of this gun without a suppressor on it. And we're just starting to get some hiccups. Not consistent, but here and there. It's also incredibly dry. I don't know if you can see that. I have not oiled it. That's my fault. I probably should pull this apart when I get home and start cleaning it, because definitely needs it. But I really like this rifle overall, with a few tweaks, because the factory configuration, the way it comes into the US right now, I'm not a huge fan. I recommend spending a few $100 extra with HB Industries to really pull this thing into a modern fighting rifle. I really think that moving forward, these AR-180 or AR-18 style firearms are going to be the future. You see it with the MCX, you see it with the Bren, you see it with the SCAR, you even see it with like the BRN 180, which is actually earning a fairly good reputation with everything except the 7.62x39 option. So let's get into what I don't like about this rifle, and we'll close out from there. So there are only a couple things I really don't like about this rifle once it's upgraded. One, I didn't like that it did not come with a suppressor setting. That's very fixable. So let's move into the non-fixable things. So this magwell is polymer. So I found if I don't clean it out fairly regularly, like every 300 to 400 rounds, watch, that's a full mag. That is not dropping free. I gotta tear it out, and you can feel the friction. My fault, I haven't cleaned it, the magwell, and give or take 700 to 1,000 rounds. I actually clean that more than I clean the gun, just because suddenly you can't drop free your magazines, so I found the need to clean it. Another thing I don't particularly like is I like to run my sling on the opposite side of the rifle from me, my rear QD point. And when I do that, I can't fold the rifle. So it can't meet with that brass deflector and lock in place. So I'm really not a fan of that. I wish they would have figured out some way to make it fold, but again, it's just the stock. It's the way the stock folds. It's not a huge deal. So just a little nitpick gripe there. And another thing, lastly, is this folding hinge is actually all polymer. They've upgraded that with the Gen 3. So hopefully that is solid. I haven't broken mine. I'm sure people out in the field have broken theirs, and that's why they're upgrading it. Either that, or they're just doing this just to be extra super durable. If someone knows, let me know in the comments down below. But overall, that's everything I dislike about this gun. Everything else I really like. I think it is an excellent rifle. I would pick this over the AR-15 all day if logistics weren't a concern, if spare parts weren't hard to find, if it wasn't hard to find a new barrel to replace this one once it gets shot out. I would be all over this over the AR-15. Now, some may say that's because I'm not really an AR guy. I actually like AKs, and you're probably right to a degree. But I don't really see a lot of benefits the AR-15 gives over this system. And I see quite a few drawbacks, especially running suppressed. I guess the only real benefit would be the ability to swap uppers. But with the price of lowers, just buy another lower. Why not have 2 ARs instead of 1? So I'm not a big fan of swapping uppers, but that's a conversation for a different day. Overall, ending thoughts are this is an excellent rifle. I really like it. I think they made some improvements with the Gen 3, but I'm going to be keeping with this one because of weight concerns for the most part. So if you like this video, if you like this information I'm giving, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to go outside, touch grass, and eat ass. All right, guys?